Welcome to episode 97 of your CySA Plus Prepcast. In this episode, we explore a critical yet often misunderstood area of vulnerability management, documenting and handling exceptions. Exception management is not about ignoring vulnerabilities. Rather, it is a disciplined process for acknowledging that in some cases immediate remediation is not feasible. Through structured documentation, compensating controls, and regular reviews, organizations can manage risk transparently while maintaining operational continuity. This episode will help you understand how exception handling fits into broader security governance, and it will reinforce a key topic on the CySA Plus exam. Let's begin by clearly defining what an exception is within the context of vulnerability management. An exception is a formally documented acknowledgment that a known vulnerability or security weakness exists on a system, but will not be immediately remediated due to specific constraints. These constraints might include operational limitations, business priorities, legacy system dependencies, or resource availability. Exceptions are not indefinite permissions to ignore vulnerabilities. Instead, they are governed acknowledgments of risk that are actively tracked, controlled, and managed as part of a larger cybersecurity framework. Exceptions arise in a variety of operational contexts. Patching a critical system may introduce unacceptable downtime, jeopardize service availability, or interfere with legacy applications. In other cases, a vulnerability may affect a system that cannot be upgraded due to vendor constraints or compatibility concerns. Rather than leaving these vulnerabilities unaccounted for, organizations document exceptions, assess the associated risks, and implement compensating controls. This allows security teams to manage the situation deliberately rather than reactively, ensuring that decision-makers understand and accept the risks involved. The documentation of exceptions is a central part of the process. Analysts create formal exception records that capture all relevant details, including the asset affected, the vulnerability ID or description, the business justification for the exception, a risk assessment, the timeline for remediation or review, and the compensating controls applied. This documentation provides visibility to stakeholders, serves as evidence of due diligence for auditors, and allows for systematic tracking of all accepted risks. Without proper documentation, exceptions can be forgotten, leading to unmanaged exposure and potential regulatory violations. Organizations commonly categorize exceptions as either temporary or permanent. A temporary exception is typically approved for a fixed period, such as 30, 60, or 90 days, with a defined plan for remediation or mitigation. These are often tied to patch scheduling, system upgrades, or the development of alternate solutions. A permanent exception may be necessary when a vulnerability cannot be remediated under current constraints. In such cases, long-term compensating controls and ongoing monitoring are required, and the decision is subject to regular review. Analysts must ensure that permanent exceptions are treated with the same seriousness as temporary ones and are never left unchecked. The decision to grant an exception must be based on a thorough evaluation of risk. Analysts assess the exploitability of the vulnerability, the sensitivity and criticality of the affected asset, the potential impact of exploitation, and the effectiveness of any proposed compensating controls. This analysis is often documented using a formal risk acceptance form, which must be reviewed and approved by designated authorities such as the Chief Information Security Officer or Risk Management Committee. The goal is to ensure that the organization accepts risk knowingly, not accidentally. Exception management requires clear governance. Organizations define policies and procedures that specify how exceptions are requested, who can approve them, how long they are valid, and how they are reviewed. These processes are often codified in security policies and operational manuals. Analysts must ensure that exception workflows are followed precisely, that approvals are obtained through documented channels, and that expiration dates are tracked. Strong governance prevents the misuse of exceptions and ensures accountability across departments. Communication is essential in handling exceptions effectively. Analysts must collaborate with IT operations teams, business unit leaders, application owners, and senior management to ensure that everyone understands the nature of the exception, the associated risks, and the compensating controls in place. Clear communication ensures that there are no misunderstandings about who is responsible for mitigation efforts and what actions are expected. This collaborative approach also builds consensus and ensures that security considerations are weighed alongside business requirements. Many organizations incorporate exception data directly into their vulnerability management platforms. This integration ensures that exceptions are not hidden in email threads or isolated spreadsheets, but are visible within the broader risk management system. Vulnerability dashboards can flag assets with approved exceptions, display compensating controls, and show upcoming expiration dates. This centralized visibility is vital for maintaining awareness and for ensuring that no exception falls through the cracks. Exception management supports cybersecurity resilience by turning unmanaged risks into managed risks. Rather than ignoring vulnerabilities that cannot be fixed immediately, analysts shine a light on them, document them, implement controls, and plan for eventual resolution. This transparency not only strengthens internal oversight, but also demonstrates to regulators, auditors, and partners that the organization takes risk management seriously and maintains a mature security posture. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Managing exceptions effectively requires prioritization based on security risk. Analysts assess the severity of each vulnerability, the likelihood of exploitation, the value and sensitivity of affected assets, and the organization's regulatory obligations. Exceptions involving high-risk vulnerabilities or systems that store sensitive data must receive heightened scrutiny. These cases often demand stronger compensating controls, more frequent reviews, and tighter expiration timelines. Prioritization ensures that the organization's limited resources are focused on exceptions that carry the most significant potential consequences if exploited. Compensating controls are central to safe exception handling. When remediation cannot occur immediately, analysts implement additional safeguards to reduce the risk of exploitation. Common compensating controls include enhanced monitoring, strict firewall rules, restricted administrative access, host-based intrusion prevention systems, network segmentation, and tighter access logging. These measures do not remove the vulnerability, but they substantially reduce the likelihood or impact of exploitation. Compensating controls must be carefully selected based on the vulnerability's nature and regularly reviewed to ensure they remain effective. Routine review of exceptions is essential. Analysts schedule periodic reassessments to determine whether the conditions that led to the exception still apply. Has a patch become available? Has the system been replaced or updated? Has the business process changed, reducing the operational constraint? During each review, analysts reassess the risk, revalidate compensating controls, and determine whether the exception should be renewed, modified, or closed. Regular review cycles, typically every 30, 60, or 90 days, prevent outdated exceptions from lingering unnoticed in the environment. Documentation of exceptions must clearly explain the business justification for deferral. Analysts work with system owners to articulate why the vulnerability cannot be immediately resolved. These justifications might include operational continuity concerns, application dependency limitations, compliance with industry-specific software requirements, or resource constraints. Thorough documentation helps demonstrate that deferrals are based on reasoned decisions rather than oversight. It also prepares the organization to defend those decisions during audits or incident investigations. Automated tracking of exceptions enhances accountability and efficiency. Analysts use security dashboards, ticketing systems, and vulnerability management platforms to track exception status, record approvals, flag approaching expiration dates, and send automated reminders. Integration with vulnerability databases ensures that exception records remain linked to specific CVEs or risk categories. Automation prevents manual errors, supports consistent workflows, and improves visibility across distributed environments, especially in large organizations managing thousands of assets and users. Expiration dates help maintain discipline in exception management. Temporary exceptions must include clear expiration timelines, after which the exception is either renewed with updated justification or closed following remediation. Analysts monitor upcoming expirations to ensure timely reassessment and avoid untracked exposure. Permanent exceptions are also subject to periodic review, but temporary exceptions carry higher urgency due to their assumed short-term nature. Defined timelines reinforce a culture of accountability and prevent exception creep from becoming systemic risk. Continuous monitoring supports exception management by providing real-time visibility into potential exploitation. Security teams use intrusion detection systems, system logs, behavioral analytics, and vulnerability scanners to watch for indicators of compromise on systems with approved exceptions. If a threat actor begins targeting the vulnerable component, the organization must be ready to escalate its response, reevaluate the exception, or take emergency remediation steps. Monitoring ensures that accepted risks remain under watchful control, not hidden in darkness. Training plays a vital role in successful exception handling. Analysts develop and deliver awareness sessions for IT teams, developers, system administrators, and business stakeholders that explain exception procedures, approval workflows, compensating control requirements, and risk communication expectations. A well-informed staff is less likely to misuse exceptions and more likely to engage security teams early when challenges arise. Regular training ensures consistency, builds collaboration, and supports a shared understanding of risk tolerance and governance structures. Compliance audits increasingly include rigorous reviews of exception handling processes. Auditors check whether exceptions are documented, properly approved, reviewed on time, and tied to compensating controls. Analysts ensure that exception records are linked to risk assessments, asset inventories, and control strategies. Regulatory frameworks such as PCI DSS, HIPAA, GDPR, and ISO 27001 emphasize risk acknowledgment and documentation, meaning exception handling is no longer a niche practice, it is a mandatory component of mature cybersecurity governance. Continuous improvement is the final element in successful exception management. Analysts evaluate how well exception processes perform during audits, vulnerability reviews, and post-incident analyses. Did the exception process identify and control risks effectively? Were timelines met? Were any misrenewals or misclassified risks discovered? Feedback from these reviews is used to refine exception policies, adjust compensating control strategies, enhance documentation standards, and improve automated workflows. This ongoing evolution ensures that the organization remains agile, secure, and compliant in the face of changing threats and operational demands. To conclude episode 97, documenting and handling exceptions is not about avoiding risk. It's about managing it transparently, deliberately, and strategically. When vulnerabilities cannot be resolved immediately, organizations must respond with well-governed exception processes that include detailed documentation, rigorous compensating controls, stakeholder alignment, and ongoing oversight. Mastering these practices allows cybersecurity analysts to reduce unmanaged risk, uphold regulatory compliance, and support the continuous improvement of vulnerability management programs. These principles are vital for your success on the CySA Plus exam and critical to your impact as a security professional. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.